Welcome to the Real Life Weight Loss Podcast, where we cut through the confusion and get down to the truth about what really works for real people when it comes to losing weight, having incredible health, and a body that you love. We believe that losing weight is really about gaining life, doing things you never thought you could, having renewed confidence, and enjoying your body more than ever. I'm your host, Corey Little. Now let's get to it. Hello, my friend. Welcome back. This is episode number 244, and I am so excited because today I have a big announcement, and that big announcement directly impacts you. So today's episode is going to be a little different, but I think it's going to be fantastic. You'll really enjoy it, so hang around with me, okay? Okay, let's do it. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for being here, and thank you to all of you that write or message me in some way. It absolutely amazes me. I'll receive emails or messages on Facebook or Instagram from people, honestly, just like you, people who are like, hey, thank you so much. I found your podcast 3 months ago or 6 months ago or whatever, and it totally changed how I look at my body. It totally changed how I think about losing weight. I stopped weighing myself all the time, and it's so nice not to have that stress hovering over me. Oh, and by the way, I've lost 20 pounds, or I've lost 30 pounds, or I've lost 25 pounds, whatever. It's freaking amazing. And it makes me, I just want to jump through the screen and give these people like a huge high five and a big hug, if they're huggers. I'm a hugger, forewarning. I'm a hugger. So I want to give them like a big high five and a big hug because of this amazing way that they've changed their life. Well, today, that's really a big part of what this episode's all about. I'm going to explain how you just might be able to get even better results, even more results, just from listening to this podcast. Now, I believe there are different types of listeners out there, and I think you'll fall into one of these three categories. Category number one, what I call the swing buyers. The people who just kind of drop by when an episode title catches their attention. It's like, oh, Corey's explaining something about keto today. Let me check that out. And then I do another episode and they just bypass it. They don't pay any attention. So the people who just drop by, swing by, and listen every now and then. And hey, if that's you, I am so thankful for you. I'm happy you're here, and I'm happy that you swing by every now and then. That's the first category. Category number two are the people who are consistent listeners. People who listen to just about every single episode that I put out, or they do listen to every single episode. And if that's you, man, you rock. And I'm so thankful. And these consistent listeners are probably people that would even share episodes with friends or family sometime. Thank you. Thank you for listening consistently. And then the third category of listeners are what I might call next level real lifers. People who not only listen to every new episode, but they go back and listen to older ones and maybe even go all the way back as far as they can to the beginning if they can get back to episode number one. Some podcast platforms don't even allow that anymore. And they listen to them all. I'll receive messages from people sometime and they're like, hey, I found your podcast 3 weeks ago. I've been binge listening and I've listened to every single episode. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you have to be absolutely sick of my voice. But that's the next level real lifers. And so you probably fit into one of these three categories. And regardless of which one you are, I am absolutely so grateful for you. Here's the thing, though. If you're just a swing buyer, if you just stop by, if you're like, yeah, that episode looks interesting, then you probably won't be really interested in what I'm sharing today. Feel free to stay and listen, but just a forewarning, it might not be at the top of your list. This episode is definitely for the rest of you, for the consistent listeners and the next level real lifers. I want you to help me determine the future of this podcast. Do you remember those Choose Your Own Adventure books? If any of you are in your 30s or 40s, I don't know if these things were nationwide. I just remember them from when I was in elementary school. So we had these books, and they were called Choose Your Own Adventure books. And you could read through, and the characters got to this point in the story where it was like, do you go into the cave to investigate the noise, or do you turn left on the path to continue your hike, or something like that, right? And, if you went into the cave, you turn to page 27. And if you can, turn left to continue on your hike, then you turn to page 33, whatever. And so these were this was back in the 80s, gang, right? So now we have so much more cool stuff. But for all of us who are like 40 or over, those were like the coolest books ever. At least they were to me. You got to choose your own adventure. You got to pick what the characters in the book did next. And I thought that was so amazing. Well, today you're going to get a chance to do just that. You're going to get a chance to choose your own adventure all over again. You're going to choose what's next for this podcast. Your response or lack of response to what I share today will literally determine the future of real life weight loss. Now, I will explain everything, but first I want to tell you a little bit more about my heart and soul for this podcast. When I first decided to create real life weight loss, I wanted to create a podcast that was kind of by the people, for the people, for lack of a better description. With this podcast, I wanted to create something that felt like you and I sitting down in a coffee shop for you to pick my brain about losing weight. I wanted this podcast to be like talking to a trusted friend who also just so happens to be a nutritionist and a weight loss expert. It's like, hey man, oh my gosh, I got a buddy who's really knows his stuff, but like above all, I can just trust what he shares. I wanted this podcast to be that way. I wanted this podcast to essentially be yours, made by me for you, made by me for other people out there just like me, real life people who are experts in other areas of life, but might just need some help with food, weight loss, and their health goals. That's why I try my best not to waste your time and I get straight to the topic at hand. That's why I do my best to serve up bite-sized episodes that are only about 25 to 30 minutes long, but that really bring some value and oftentimes have actionable content, like actual steps that you can take to help you move in a positive direction. And that's why I promised to always tell you the truth and to pull back the curtain on the diet industry. And that's why I've always, through nearly 250 episodes now, I've always kept this podcast ad-free because, I mean, I don't know about you, but I know about me, and I do know that I don't like listening to a podcast that has a bunch of ads. Ads at the beginning, and then you finally get into the content. Oh, this is good. And then, whoop, hold on. Put on the brakes. We got ads again in the middle of the podcast. And then you're starting to wrap the podcast up, and then towards the end, we got more ads. It's like ads at the beginning, ads in the middle, ads at the end. It's like, good grief, man. Am I listening to a podcast or just one big advertisement? But as much as I don't like hearing ads, I get it. I'm starting to understand, and I'll explain why. I'm beginning to understand why other podcasters do it, and I'll explain that in just a moment. So here's the thing. As this podcast has grown, I've been approached over and over and over again by various companies wanting to advertise their products on real life weight loss. Every single time, I politely declined, because I'm like, thanks, but no thanks, and for a few very specific reasons. Number one, I value your trust more than you can imagine. In my coaching group, I often refer to myself as like the mama bear. Like I'm incredibly protective of all the people in my coaching group, and you're kind of an extension of that. I'm incredibly protective of all of you listeners who put your trust in me to lead you in the right direction when it comes to your health and weight loss goals. I value your trust more than you can imagine, and there's no freaking way I'm going to promote some product that I don't believe in or I don't actually use myself. I'm not going to do that. So that's the first reason I've always politely declined on the ads. And then the second reason is because of what I said earlier. I don't like listening to ads, and you probably don't either. I've always wanted to keep this here podcast, this little podcast, totally ad-free. Now, here's the thing. Here's what might surprise you, because honestly, it kind of surprised me. The more successful a podcast becomes, the more it costs. The more it costs in multiple ways. It costs more to pump out helpful quality episodes every week. Basically, it costs more to create, produce, and host the podcast, the hosting software, and various other things. The cost goes up. And then suddenly, for me, things started to become clear. That is why a lot of podcasts put ads on their shows. They've got expenses, and the payments from these ads help them to offset their expenses. Well, because of you amazing people, this podcast is now in a similar situation. It has grown and grown and grown, and I'm absolutely honored by that. As I said earlier, I value your trust, and I'm so thankful that you spend some of your time each and every week with me. But as I just explained, with this success comes increased cost. So we're at a bit of a crossroads, and this is where you come in, because remember, I want you to feel like this is your podcast. So to offset the growing cost, do we start having some ads on the Real Life Weight Loss Podcast? Or do I offer some other way, some cool, super economical way for all of you dedicated listeners to get a little more in-depth teaching and guidance from me? So that is what I need your feedback on. In the coming months, one of two things will likely happen. Number one, we'll start having ads on this podcast. Or number two, we'll have like a Real Life Weight Loss Plus community or membership or whatever you want to call it. That would be a small monthly fee, probably like $9 or $10 per month. Honestly, I would really prefer the second option because it enables me to spend more time and energy helping you versus spending my time and energy creating ads for other people's products. This is where I need your feedback. I need to know if you're interested in this. I'm going to explain I'm going to get into the details and explain what would be included in this plus option, this membership, whatever you want to call it. And then, this is so important, very important, if it's something you would like to participate in and you want to help support this podcast, then I need to hear from you. Okay? And it's going to be really simple. You don't have to send me a message. Go to losefatlist.com. Lose, L-O-S-E, fat, F-A-T, list, L-I-S-T. losefatlist.com. I'll also include that link in the show notes. And on that page, you'll see everything that would be included. And you can put your name, your email on the list as a way of kind of raising your hand and saying, hey, Corey, hey, man, yes, I am totally interested in this. And I would jump on it for $9 or $10 per month as a way to support this podcast and as a way to get extra teaching, to get extra guidance from you, to get even better results just from listening to this podcast and paying $9 or $10 per month, less than like a couple coffee drinks from Starbucks, right? So you can go to that website right now and read exactly what's included, or you can keep listening and I'll explain what I'm thinking about for this premium podcast membership. But let me be very clear. Don't miss this. By not choosing, because I get it, right? I listen to podcasts and sometimes people say things and they're like, hey, we want your feedback, or hey, let us know. And I'm not proud to say it, but sometimes I'm like, oh God, yeah, that's great. I should follow up on that. And then I never do. So this is what I want you to understand. By not choosing, you're choosing. You're saying no. So like if you don't go and put your name down, that tells me you're not interested. And that's okay. You're basically saying, no, I'm not interested in that. And then on my end, your lack of response is basically a no, because I will have to choose which route we go, ads or podcast membership, based on the amount of people who respond and say yes. And if you're like, oh yeah, that sounds pretty cool, I'd do that, but then you don't go to the website and put your name on the list, and it's like casting a vote for ads. It's basically saying, no, I'm not interested, okay? So by not choosing, you're choosing, all right? Now let me be very clear about something in case some of you are like, oh, what's going on? Real Life Weight Loss Podcast is going away. No. The podcast is going to continue. I will keep pumping out 3 or 4 episodes every month of exactly what you've been listening to. This is an opportunity for you to kind of take a step, to go up a notch, and like I said, get extra teaching and extra guidance from me, and also a way for you to just support the podcast if you really, really enjoy it. Okay? Okay, now, here's what I'm thinking about for this premium podcast membership. First, you would get access to every single episode in multiple formats, starting way back with episode number 1. As I said, some people, depending on which platform you listen to, Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, I can't remember. There's some of those that no longer even supply like the first 30 to 50 episodes. So those are just gone. They're lost. So with this premium podcast membership, whatever you want to call it, you would get access to every single episode. And not only that, you would get access to them in multiple formats, meaning you could listen to the audio, but there will also be a text version. So if you're like, man, Corey, I like listening, but I process things and I learn better when I read, boom, every single episode will have a text version. Now, not only would you get access to every single episode and you would get it in multiple formats, this would also be searchable. So in other words, you could search through all of the available episodes. Like if you're like, man, I wonder what Corey said about, has Corey ever talked about the Mediterranean diet? Well, boom, there's a search bar. You just type in Mediterranean diet, and anytime through any of the 240 something episodes that I mentioned Mediterranean diet, it will bring that up, and you'll either be able to read it or you can hear the clip from that, which to me, like that's a pretty cool feature right there all by itself. So any topic you're interested in, you can search through every single episode, and then future episodes. So once we get up to 300 or 350, you'll still, the search function will search through all of those for any time I mention whatever topic is of interest to you. Now, in addition to that, we'll have some exclusive content. So we'll either do Q&A episodes. So like anyone who's a part of this community, part of this membership, will be able to like send their questions into me. Hey, Corey, what do you think about this food? Hey, Corey, I'd love for you to explain more about this. Hey, Corey, here's the situation I'm having. Can you help me out with this? So you'll be able to submit your questions, and then I will do exclusive Q&A episodes where I respond to those questions. And again, these will only be available to people who are part of this community. We'll probably do that. Another option that we might do in the Q&A world, we might do just a monthly Zoom meeting where we can all hang out and I can answer all of your questions live real time. I'm not sure which one of these yet. I see benefits to both. We might do a combo of both and see which one works best. So either way, you have questions, you'll get answers from me, whether it's on a private episode or it's live. Next up, there will be a weekly email. It might be Corey's favorite recipe of the week, something my wife and I are really enjoying for our lunches or for our dinners or whatever. Or it could be it's kind of a tough love kick in the pants, something that I send out to my coaching group every now and then. Kind of a, hey, get real, let's get real. Here's a little kick in the pants that we all need sometime. Or it might be some like get your mind right motivation. So there'll be a weekly email to help you really stay engaged and focused. In addition, something I'm thinking about, and I think some of you may enjoy, I think it'll be kind of boring, but I'll probably include my grocery shopping list. Corey's grocery shopping list, regularly updated with kind of guidelines that I use for how I shop for different things. Next up, we'll do like food label reviews. Like I mentioned earlier, that's a big thing that a lot of people love to know. Hey, I've been buying these organic crackers forever. Are these any good? Are these actually better than this other cracker? Hey, Corey, which of these two breads is best? Should I even be eating these organic reduced sugar cookies? Like, are they beneficial, or are they bad for me? Is there something hiding in those? So you could submit a food label and I'll do a review of it for you. Also, I am putting together something called Weight Loss on a Budget. And this would be a download that is absolutely free and available to anyone who's part of this community. And I will outline the best ways that I know of to grocery shop and to select a gym or select an exercise option that would help you lose weight and move towards your health, overall health goals while on a budget, to basically do it in the most economical way possible. Next up, you may be like, wait a minute, hold on. This is too much stuff. I'm losing track. It's all on the website. Go to losefatlist.com. I really want this to be like an absolute no-brainer if you're interested in it. I don't want you to be like, well, it's kind of okay. So next up, you would have access to something that previous to this, only members of my Inner Circle coaching group have had access to. And this is what we call mindset renewal self-talk. There's tremendous research behind the power of self-talk and listening to pre-recorded self-talk that actually helps to kind of reprogram your subconscious. If you've been listening to this podcast, you've probably heard me talk about Dr. Shad Helmstetter. He is the researcher who pioneered this area and was able to discover and explain how listening, even if we're not paying attention, listening to self-talk can really begin to kind of reprogram our subconscious. So I created mindset renewal audios specifically for my Inner Circle members. As a member of this Real Life Weight Loss Plus, whatever we want to call it, you would get access to these as well. And then lastly, as a member of this community, you would get a special opportunity to upgrade to the Inner Circle if you ever chose to do that. And all you Inner Circle members who are listening to this, and if you're like, oh my gosh, this sounds amazing, you're automatically going to get access to all of this. Okay, gang? So don't worry. When you're in the Inner Circle, you're getting all this plus more, all right? So here's the thing. As I wrap this up, I want to make a few things clear. Number one, please know above all that I am super crazy thankful for you. I'm thankful that you listen. I'm thankful that you share episodes with friends and family that might benefit. I'm thankful that you continue to spend a little time with me each and every week. Number 2, I want to continue pumping out helpful, quality episodes every single week. But this does come at a cost. And then number 3, I value you and your opinion, and I want you to help me figure out the next step. Should we just throw some ads in there for some products that I do trust and I do think highly of? Or should we go with a super cool, economical way for all of you dedicated listeners to get a little more in-depth teaching and guidance? I am excited to hear from you, okay? And either option I'm cool with. I want you guys to pick. Take just a few seconds to go to losefatlist.com and essentially place your vote. Sign up, put your name on the list, or don't. Either way, it's all good. I love you regardless, and I appreciate you, okay? Okay, good. And lastly, last but not least, I hope you always remember and you never forget that there's so much more to you than a number. So don't let the scales sneak up in your head and dictate your emotions and just dominate your headspace. You're so much more than that. And losing weight's amazing. I love helping people do it, but losing weight's really all about gaining life and living the life you've always wanted to live. And even if you don't believe in yourself, that's okay. You keep coming back. I'll keep working on you. We will get you there. You can borrow my belief, okay? Okay. Take care, my friends. I look forward to hearing from you. losefatlist.com. God bless. Bye-bye.